Now, look, who can forget Frontiers? It all started in the election year, didn't it? 2020. When, at the height of COVID, Ghana, as part of its scramble to keep our borders safe, decided to set up some testing at our airport so that we could reopen, our country and all of that. Now, the timing was a bit strange. We remember a very funny tenancy agreement, floating around the place for a company that seemed to have been set up either days before or days after they started operating. It was all rather murky. So naturally, we started to ask for answers. This was in September 2020.
And also because we knew that Noguchi had the capacity then.
Indeed. Yeah. So people were asking, why bring in another company? Why, we can do this. What's the problem? Then in January, after the election was won, and the NPP retained power, we started to vet their ministers. And we wanted to know what had gone into that contract. January was a very strange month indeed. Throughout the vetting process, every minister who you would logically expect to know about this deal, a deal with a company that is ostensibly owned by foreign entities, a deal with that is to engage in our airport and to engage every single person entering this country. From the contractual relevance of this thing to the health issues, to the procurement issues, you would expect ministers to know about it. But one after another, ministers who were vetted, who you would think would know, knew nothing. Let's listen to a few of those ministers telling us what they don't know about Frontiers.
Even this afternoon, I've indicated that the Japan transaction, we would have spoken about it extensively. I was not the one who worked on it. I was not, because the Attorney General assigns work as and how is necessary.
A follow-up on that. It appears my tortuous expedition continues. Fortunately, you were wearing two hats. So if I can't get you with legal principal advice, you served on the governing body of the Public Procurement Authority. Did that transaction come to the board's attention?
Mr. Chairman, readily, on the top of my head, because there are hundreds of approvals that are taken by the PPA every week, hundreds of them. So I cannot tell whether this particular one. And most of the time, because I'm Deputy Attorney General, accompanied with court, when they are sitting around 10 a.m., I will be in court. I will not be there.
Seriously, the president set machinery in motion. He set up a committee in the presidency, chaired by the Chief of Staff. I was a member. We pulled 1 or 2 infrastructure directors from my ministry. Ghana Health Service, there's also a fair representation on that.
Even this afternoon, I've indicated that the Japan transaction, we would have spoken about it extensively. I was not the one who worked on it. I was not, because the Attorney General assigns work as and how is necessary.
A follow-up on that. It appears my tortuous expedition continues. Fortunately, you were wearing two hats. So if I can't get you with legal principal advice, you served on the governing body of the Public Procurement Authority. Did that transaction come to the board's attention?
Mr. Chairman, readily, on the top of my head, because there are hundreds of approvals that are taken by the PPA every week, hundreds of them. So I cannot tell whether this particular one. And most of the time, because I'm Deputy Attorney General, accompanied with court, when they are sitting around 10 a.m., I will be in court. I will not be there.
Coffee in your cup and Joy on the set. The Super Morning Show is always the best bet on Joy 99.7 FM.
So yeah, those were ministers being vetted in January 2021. All of them completely denying any knowledge of the Frontiers deal. So, you could hear Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa expressing his frustration at this lack of information about such a simple, straightforward thing. One contract to do one thing. So on the 19th of February 2021, he said this.
Unreliable referrals that every nominee appears to be giving us, we have decided as a caucus that when the House reconvenes, we are going to move a motion demanding a full-scale inquiry, a bipartisan inquiry into the Frontiers Healthcare Services contract at the airport. As you have followed the proceedings of the Appointments Committee, the Health Minister was the first to be asked this question on the 10th of February. The Health Minister initially, after claiming he did not know anything about the contract, said that we should go and find out from the Presidential Task Force. Then it came to the time of the Honorable Nominee for Attorney General, who significantly wears two hats. He is a member of the governing board of the Public Procurement Authority and is also, by Article 8081, together with his boss, the principal legal advisors. Interestingly, they tell us that the Public Procurement Authority knows nothing about this. As a governing board member, he is not aware. Then you will recall that we sought to also find out from the Honorable Minister responsible for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration. She had occupied the same position at all material moments when this contract was signed and executed at the airport. She told us emphatically that the Foreign Ministry was not consulted and that Ghana's Foreign Ministry knows nothing about this contract. Then yesterday, as you followed proceedings, we found out from the chief government spokesperson, the Honorable Kojo Opon-Nkrumah, who was Minister of Information and who was a member of the Presidential Task Force. He told us that this is a matter that the Ghana Airport Company Limited is seized with. If you tell us that this is a contract which was escalated beyond one ministry and that the Presidential Task Force took the lead in securing this contract, it is the very reason that multiple ministers should know about it. If you adopted a multi-sectoral approach in the contracting, logically, multiple ministers and agency heads, those who were part of the Presidential Task Force, should know about it. Why is everybody running away from accountability?
Yeah, so, I mean, you can hear the frustration in Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa's voice. And it was a frustration shared by many in the country because it just didn't make sense. Nobody seemed to know about it. Attorney General said, doesn't know. Health Minister doesn't know. The Foreign Minister said, no idea, even though this was happening at the airport. Now, interestingly, the Procurement Minister was asked because the Health Minister had said that the contract was done under emergency circumstances. But here in our laws, it says that if you have to sign a contract under an emergency, it must be done as per procurement law. So the Minister of State in charge of procurement was asked about it. She also said, no idea. To the extent that in an interview, Dr. Okuboy, who had been the Deputy Health Minister for some time, had said that the Transport Minister designate, when he comes up for vetting, will answer all questions because he has been fully briefed. Transport Minister came and went. So this mystery contract, just nobody could speak to it. So of course, Raymond, you made a right to information request on behalf of the Joy News team to the Ghana Airport Company, who was a signatory to the contract, asking them for what exactly?
So a copy of that contract, first and foremost. Then secondly, the processes and procedures they used in actually contracting Frontiers. Then related to that process and procedures, it's also the question about the reasons that made them settle on Frontiers. That's the first tranche. The second one was how much money had actually been generated from the entire exercise. Then when you divide that into two, how much of the amount of money that's been generated is going to the state and how much is going to Frontiers? Because we've been given so many figures by different institutions or whichever one that's in the air. So we wanted to know that detail, because just the procedure may not be enough. Is the reasons for settling on, let's say, Mamavi's company or Frontiers. That's also important. Then when you move it beyond that, to the date of the request, which is September of 2022, how much money had actually accrued generally, and how much went to the Republic of Ghana, and what was Frontiers taking, the exact amounts. This is what we asked in the first place.
So basically accountability.
Simple.
And their answer was
that Section 10 of the LTI Act, because of Section 10, they could not give us the information. That's the exemption regime. Then of course, they explained that, the exemption regime had so many provisions. In fact, after saying Section 10 disallowed them for giving us the contract, they moved on because of the other information we had requested for procedure and other things. Said we're not privy to the procedure. That is one of the responses they gave in that refusal to give the information, and that they did not know the amount of money that had actually been generated through the process. So that is also what they said. So those three.
Now this is key. It's important. First of all, as signatories to the contract, they had no idea how Frontiers was chosen.
Yeah.
Okay. So they signed the contract, but they don't know how the contractor.
Yes,
was
they don't
chosen.
know the procurement
so
processes.
They were not part of the procurement process.
Yes.
They just signed the contract.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that how things work in Ghana?
Well, that's what they wrote to us on.
Okay. Because my understanding is that it is the body that is signing the contract that does the procurement. And they do it as per procurement law.
Yeah.
So if they want to do a certain kind of procurement, they will seek approval for that so that they can do that procurement. But Ghana Airport Company told us, Joy News, that they don't know how the company was chosen. All they know is that they signed a contract with them. Okay, that's important. The second thing they said was what?
Beyond, we cannot give it a contract because it's exempt.
Yes.
The second thing was that they did not know the amount of money that had been generated. They could not release that.
Also important. So you signed a contract with the company, and part of the deal is that you will share profit. So I said, Kojo, I signed a contract with you, Mama. We are going to do some work. We will share the profit. How many months into the contract did we make this RTI request?
So we did it in September last year. Last year, because they had done it from 2020. So almost it's been almost 2 years actually.
So for 2 years, Mama V, you and I have done this business. 2 years in, we are supposed to be sharing profit. I have no idea how much money we've made.
What is also significant is the fact that the airport company actually was the landlord, because they were using their facilities. They were housing Frontiers.
If you ask me, Crampa, that's a separate contract. Landlord-tenant is a separate contract.
No, in terms of why they would not know how much has been generated.
But as for that one, the whole point of our contract is to share profit. That's what I get out of it. But I don't know how much profit we've made. As a government official who has signed a contract on behalf of the people of Ghana, if I say this, should I keep my job?
In fact, the exact word they used was that the Ghana Airport Company Limited is unable to confirm the amount of money derived from the COVID testing because passengers pay directly to Frontiers healthcare providers of the service.
Oh my God.
That is what they said in their September 19 response. Those are the exact words they used.
So
money went straight to Frontiers. We cannot confirm.
So I've signed a contract on behalf of the people of Ghana with another entity, but I'm not monitoring. The purpose of the contract is to share profit, but I'm not monitoring how much profit that entity has made. For 2 years, I've not been monitoring. Okay, useful.
So those are the 4 reasons they gave. The first one being that the agreement is exempt. The second one being that they are not in possession of the chronology of the processes and the selection procedures and the reasons for it. And the third one is that passengers arriving in the country who are required to undergo COVID-19 made payments directly to Frontiers, providers of the service. And so the Ghana Airport Company is unable to confirm the amount of money derived from the COVID-19 testing because passengers paid directly to Frontiers. That's what they gave us. And we challenged that, in all fairness, So we challenged that and said that Section 10 of the RTI Act did not actually forbid you from giving us this information. We actually moved on to say that some of the things we are talking about Your minister had said somewhere that 1.6 or 1.9 million had actually been paid to somebody or government. So we wanted official records backing that, because it matters which source your information was coming from, and after that we can hold you to it. So that's what we asked for. We also said the details you are talking about in this contract, even the minister said he was supplying to Parliament some years ago. So in fairness, we did not see that the law that says some things can be exempt, and let's not forget, security is a very good reason to exempt that. If you jeopardize the interest of this country, it's a very good reason to exempt that. We argue that none of those conditions apply here. Then the RTI Commission agreed with us, proceeded to now say that they don't see the reason why they are denying us the information, so they should supply them. Let them review whether it indeed exempt under the conditions they're talking about. They did. The RTI Commission came to the conclusion that what they are saying cannot be the position of the law, that we are right, so they should supply the information within 7 days. This was as far back as February of this year.
So, Ray, they could provide the commission with the information that we're also looking for.
Yes,
they did. They did provide the commission. Yes,
but they couldn't provide that information to us.
Yes,
even after the commission had
directed
that this was not exempt.
Yeah, and we spent quality time actually giving them time. So sometimes you want to think that, oh, maybe it's a courier service. So let's make it a month. Let's wait till the next 2 months. Let's even give them an additional 1 month. I mean, it's not a big deal.
Now, Mama V, if you want this to be even more, if you want to see how much more ridiculous it is, so they gave the information to the RTI Commission to review, to determine whether it's exempt or not. RTI Commission reviewed it and said, this is not exempt. You can give the information. Then their first excuse for not giving it after that was, we need time to gather the information.
Yes.
The information that you have just given to the RTI Commission, you now need time to go and gather it. So you see. Anyway, continue, Ray.
So that is the response. So we actually allowed some time. The little
we gave them time.
Yes,
because they said they didn't have time.
Yes, we actually allowed months actually.
Oh my goodness.
Because we're thinking that, well, if it requires some time, why, if you push within the 1 week, they may give excuses.
But they've given them.
Yes, so let's give them some time. Then we gave time. Kojo, we wrote later on. In fact, we waited from February, went back to the RTI Commission in August to say, see, this is the length of period that we'll be asking for this information. You give them 1 week, they have not complied. Then the commission then, first and foremost, instituted the fine, the 200,000 Ghana cedi fine. Then the commission told them that they should supply the information. Then they wrote to the commission on September 7, saying first and foremost they needed additional time to compile that same information they have supplied to the commission earlier, and really had actually been vetted and were deemed to be not exempt and can be given to us. They needed additional time. Then they also wanted a waiver of the penalty, which is the 200,000 cedis. The commission said it will not waive it. Two, the commission also said that, I mean, if you insist, we will give you 1 more week, 7 clear days. So that's the latest communication on that. You have 7 clear days from the 22nd of September to supply the information.
Now, this is key. It's not like they can pay the fine and then not have to supply the information.
No.
They must pay the fine and supply the information.
So I'm just a little curious here. When they were asking for the waiver, I thought that you bring the information and say, you know, I delayed, but this is the information. Please waive the fine.
Oh, no.
Mm.
But the information did not come. Did you understand what I mean?
So if I could just put out excerpts of that final letter. So it is direct. The addressee is the managing director, Ghana Airport Company. Attention, Mr. Paul Adomotri, board chairman, and says here, dear sir, failure to comply with directives from the commission. Reference is made to your letter dated 7th of September with reference number. In your letter to the RTI Commission, you requested for a 1-week extension to enable the airport company to gather, review, and submit the relevant information. The commission has directed you to submit to the applicants, Mr. Raymond Akwa and Fifi Kumsen. If you recall, the directives of the Commission in its several letters to you, 3rd February 2023, 16 February 2016, stated that the information to be submitted to the applicants should be in the format as presented to the Commission in its initial request for information dated 12 October 2022 with reference number. This means that the information requested by the applicants is already available, and the Commission disapproves of the conduct of the airport company in delaying the submission of same to the applicants. That being said, the Commission maintains its fairness in regulating the right to access of information and will therefore grant the airport company 1 week and no more extension requested. Furthermore, you requested for the waiver of the administrative penalty of 200,000 imposed by the Commission on the airport company. The Commission wishes to state that the circumstances of this case does not permit the Commission to waive the penalty imposed on the airport company. It continues this way. The Commission issued its fair directive letter dated 3rd February 2023 after reviewing the documents submitted to you by the airport company. After the first directive issued by the Commission, there has been several correspondences with the airport company with no attempt to submit the information requested by the applicants. The Commission views this as a deliberate attempt on the part of the airport company to deny the applicant access to the information requested. The Commission views the conduct of the airport company as hindrance to the implementation of the Right to Information Act. Further, Section 71F of the Act 989 gives the Commission the power to impose administrative penalties on public institutions or relevant private bodies where they fail to comply with obligations under the Act. The Act, however, does not give the power to waive an already imposed penalty. The request for waiver of the amount of 200,000 imposed by the Commission on the airport company is hereby denied, as it has no powers to waive and rather implores you to take steps to make the payment in accordance with the Commission's directive issued on the 23rd of August 2023. Be advised accordingly. And this is signed by Yao Sapon Boateng, his Executive Secretary, and copied to the Multimedia Group, the Minister for Transport, and also board members of the Ghana Airport Company, Director Legal Service at Ghana Airport Company, and their RTI officer.
So just to clarify, when did the Ghana Airport Company give the information to the RTI Commission for review?
This is as far back as January of this year.
Okay. So they gave them the information that they said they don't have,
and they have to now review and submit.
No, in fact, they actually said that they don't know how much money had been made. They also don't know how the company was
procedures and
and then they couldn't provide the contract because of
exemption.
But they gave all that information to the RTI Commission, including the stuff they don't know,
which they reviewed and actually came to the conclusion that you can give it to the people.
But they didn't know it too. But they were still able to give it to the RTI Commission.
Well, that's what the correspondence show.
Okay. Well, as it turns out, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, who of course you heard very frustrated about this lack of knowledge in 2021, well, he seems to have uncovered some details. We'll be talking to him to find out what those details are about this Frontiers deal. We're talking about the Frontiers deal, the murky Frontiers deal, a deal which, for some reason, nobody seems to know about. None of the ministers you would expect to know knew about the Frontiers deal. And today, the Ghana Airport Company still has not provided the information that we've requested under the RTI Act, RTI law. They have failed to provide that information. As they continue to prevaricate, the Member of Parliament for North Tongu and ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has been doing his own digging. And he says he's uncovered the mother lode. He joins us now over the phone. Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, good morning to you.
How are you doing?
Very well indeed. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. Let me congratulate you and your colleagues on your award. Well deserved. Not that we are surprised, but it just confirms the impact that you continue to make. So congratulations.
Thank you so much. That's very gracious of you. So let's talk about this discovery of yours. You seem to have intercepted some documents. If you could walk us through them.
Yes, I have. And let me also commend you and your colleagues. You have put up a dogged fight to seek information on this matter. you put up a right to information request, which was snubbed. The airports company limited refused you the information, and you didn't end it there. You dragged them to the RTI commission, and they have been fined 200,000 Ghana cedis. They were given a week to provide the information. It's been several months after. They still have not provided the information. So I decided to continue with the digging. Remember that during the vetting of ministers, when I served on the appointments committee, all the key ministers who should know about this contract evaded my questions. They said that they know nothing about it, they were not involved, and all of that. So when you put all of that together with your own ordeal, your travails, and how you had to even get a fine from the RTI Commission, and you go through the stash of documents that I have secured, it becomes very, very clear why government has been so evasive and has engaged in this grand cover-up. I am so shocked at the content of this offer letter dated August 31st, 2020, signed by Mr. Yao Kwakwa. I mean, you go through this letter and it's as if Frontiers just drafted this letter for themselves. First of all, the first paragraph of this letter reads, "We write in connection with discussions between us for the operation of the Terminal 3 COVID-19 testing service, and are pleased to inform you that Ghana Airports Company Limited, GACL, has agreed to grant you a license agreement for the establishment and management of the service." So, right from this paragraph, you see that they did not follow the procurement laws. This was a discussion. So they held discussions behind the scenes. The question is that, who were those in this discussion? Who convened that meeting? Where did the discussions take place? Is that how procurement is done in our country? Nobody should tell us that, oh, you know, COVID, a period of emergency, there was a public health crisis. When you go through our procurement laws, there are adequate provisions for periods of emergency, periods of catastrophe, which is a word that is used in the procurement law. So there are adequate provisions where you can, you know, hasten up the process and still be lawful and still guarantee value for money. Then the second observation that I make from this offer letter is that you see an airport company limited that it's as though somebody has put a gun to their head and they are just making all kinds of offers to Frontiers, which are skewed, which are imbalanced, which are against their own interests. Will you believe that this offer letter says that, though we know you are going to charge $150 per test, we are only interested in $10. We will take only $10. Can you believe that, Kojo? So Frontiers keeps $140, and then the whole Ghana Airport Company, all of us, because the airport belongs to us, belongs to the people of Ghana, we take $10. Then somebody may say, oh, you know, probably there are some high specifications in terms of the investment that Frontiers must make. You go through this offer letter, and Frontiers was giving a blank check. There were no specifications, no specific requirements in terms of the investment that they must make. Some threshold they must reach where you can say that, okay, they are bringing in so much, and that is why we are interested in only $10 out of the $150. Incredible, Kojo. Incredible. Then you come to the capacity of Frontiers. When you go through this offer letter, they do not speak to any capacity, some, if you like, intellectual property, some patent, some exclusive right that Frontiers has over this whole testing system, which means that this arrangement, this testing agreement could have been entered into with any of the very reputable organizations we have in Ghana. Noguchi could have done this. KCCR, the Kumasi Center for Collaborative Research, could have done this. Kolebu Central Lab could have done this. Look, the irony is that even the Ghana Airport Company themselves, they have a hospital. They were also doing some testing. They could have done this to raise IGF. Now, the analysis we have done, if you look at the Ghana Airport Company's own publications of the passenger traffic statistics, within the period that Frontiers operated, about 1 million air passengers arrived. 1 million. When you do the analysis, Frontiers has walked away with not less than $130 million in profit. Imagine what over $100 million could have done for Noguchi. How they could have expanded, employed more young scientists, bought more equipment. They have been complaining about obsolete gadgets, equipment. Imagine what over $100 million could do for KCCR, could do for the Kolebu Central Lab. This money has gone to Frontiers. And the sad part is that Frontiers has no track record. This company was hurriedly put together some 2 months to the reopening of the airport on the 1st of September. What is also revealing about this offer letter, Kojo, is that it is signed August 31, 2020, and then Frontier starts work just the next day, September 1. So, under 24 hours, everything was done, agreement signed, the setup completed. Are we in some kangaroo republic? And then you look at the term of this contract, the duration, Kojo. Frontiers was given 2 years. So you now understand why, even though in all other jurisdictions, this airport testing, mandatory testing at the airport had ceased, they had dismantled their systems, Ghana was still charging people $150. This testing was going on many, many months after. And who does that? We know we are fighting this pandemic. We can defeat it anytime, in a month's time, in 2 months' time, in 3 months. Why give these people a 2-year contract? Why? So, look, every part of this contract, including their exemption from paying water bills and all of that, it's just mind-boggling. This is a total rip-off, Kojo. Total rip-off.
So, having laid your hands on this information, by the way, if you just joined us, we're talking to Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. He's the Honorable Member of Parliament for North Tongu. He's a ranking member on the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, and he's been digging into this whole Frontiers arrangement. He has intercepted documents which he tells us are the license agreement that was issued to the Frontiers Company by the Ghana Airport Company Limited. A document which states that the license agreement was being offered following discussions. It doesn't refer to any procurement processes. It simply says discussions. And then, of course, there is this very interesting profit-sharing arrangement where out of $150, the licensee would keep $140 and the airport company would keep $10. Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa also asks questions about why there was a need for a licensee, for a license to be issued to a private entity, when there are several entities here in Ghana that could have done the same work and that same amount of money as internally generated funds. Now, Mr. Okudzeto Ablakwa, now that you've laid your hands on this, I mean, what do you intend to do with it? You're still ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament. What's the next move?
So we have been discussing with the leadership in Parliament as well, and the plan is to file a motion and demand for a full-scale parliamentary inquiry when the House resumes in a few days from now. So that is the immediate plan. The challenge we have in our country now, really, and to be fair, it's been quite historic, is that the authorities who must act, when it is really about their colleagues, they don't take action. And I think that That's even what led to the establishment of the OSP. But we're still not seeing much in terms of regime accountability. What we are seeing is my accountability from my political opponents or from the previous regime. So we are not expecting much under this current regime. But it's good we have these documents, we have the evidence. I foresee a future Attorney General prosecuting and people really, facing the music when it comes to this matter. Look, if you go through this offer letter, they did not even provide a condition precedent. We all know that HEFRA, the Health Facilities Regulatory Authority, should license anybody coming to operate in the biomedical space. Frontiers was not made to go for a license. It was not a requirement. And that is why Frontiers operated several months without a license from HEFRA. Until we raised it at vetting, then the health minister said he has asked them to now go for license. And that's when they were licensed by HEFRA. Can you believe that? You are dealing with biomedical data. You are taking samples from human beings, not animals. They were not licensed. So right from the procurement breaches to the violations of our health laws, people must be facing the music long ago. And Kojo, you can now appreciate why, despite all of what Joy FM has done to get these documents, they are refusing. They are even happy to pay a fine of 200,000. And by the way, we must amend the ITI law so that these fines will be paid by the heads of these institutions from their own pockets, not from our taxes, because it's further financial loss. Already this whole Frontiers deal has cost us so much money. Now we are going to lose additional 200,000. And these people don't care. They will not provide the information. So immediately, we will ask for a parliamentary inquiry. That is the power we have as parliamentarians. We don't have prosecutorial powers. It's up to the Attorney General, or if the OSP is so minded.
Yeah.
But for now, there will be a parliamentary inquiry. But I believe one day, when power changes hands, a future Attorney General will look into these matters, and people will be made to answer for their crimes.
Now, as with every intercepted document, I'm sure you're aware that those who, seek to further the cause of the Ghana Airport Company may well dispute the validity of your intercepted documents. How are you, able to confirm the authenticity of what you have?
Kojo, you know that I've been doing this for some years now, and it's not the first time I'm intercepting documents. We've intercepted documents even from the president's office, from the president's desk, and we know how to do our validations, do our cross-checking, and we have done our checks. Look, this even the $10 share. If you look at our parliamentary Hansard of last year, the transport minister confirmed that the Ghana Airport Company was only making $10. So that should tell you that the information here is authentic. But I can assure you that we have done our checks. We have spoken to those who we must speak to. But in these matters, when you are dealing with intercepted documents, you cannot expose your sources, and you cannot, put people's names out there in terms of people in organizations that you have spoken to carry out your validation, processes. But I can assure you that I am very confident about the authenticity of these documents and the contents therein.
Right. Well, of course, you know how interested we are in this matter, so we're certainly going to keep an eye on the progress of your moves in Parliament to have this investigated through a parliamentary committee. We thank you very much for your time with us this morning.
I'm grateful, Kojo.
And that's Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, MP for North Tongu, ranking member of the Foreign Affairs Committee of Parliament, talking to intercepted documents that reveal the licensee agreement between the Ghana Airport Company and Frontiers for COVID testing at the airport.